Back in the early days, when cargo used to cross the ocean on ships like this. This is the Schooner Bill of Rights. It belongs to Captain Joe Davis. He built it in 1971, but it's a copy of a schooner from the 1800s. My name is Ricky. I'd never been on a schooner before, or any kind of ship for that matter. Laurie's done some sailing, but she'd never been on a schooner either.
We live in Boston, but for 1 week we were going to live on the Bill of Rights, and we were going to learn how to sail as cadets in a program run by the American Sail Training Association.
When Carl at Macaroni offered to sponsor us for the trip, we jumped at the chance. A chance to go back in time. No motors, no noise, just us and our sails on the wind's time.
Time to discover anything is possible and dreams to uncover. If you come with us, we are the future. Everything is possible and dreams we can nurture. When you come with us, call it places, call it spaces, call it things to do. Call it riding, call it flying, stick a feather in your shoe. Call it crazy, call it funny, call it you're a phony. Call it you, call it me, call it macaroni.
I've been around boats a lot because my father's a fisherman, but I've never been on a schooner before. When I saw the Bill of Rights, I was very excited. I mean, it was just so big, and thought of all the things you had to do. I just wanted to jump around and run around all over the place.
When we first came to the boat, it was so big. Really, I just wanted to say, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Welcome aboard the Schooner Bill of Rights. You folks are here for a sail training cruise, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of what we're about to do in the program we have for you.
After we put our things away, Captain Davis met with us to go over the week's schedule.
Helping set sail, learning how to splice lines, signaling other vessels, to preparing meals and doing dishes and cleaning bilges and whatnot. You'll have, by the end of the week, you'll have a pretty good idea of what goes on board a vessel as far as making a successful passage from point A to point B.
Well, what's the main difference between a schooner and a regular sailboat?
In this day and age, most schooners are two-masted vessels, with the aftermast being the larger.
Are we going to be able to steer the ship?
Oh, positively.
Hey! Hey! Keep waiting!
We began working as soon as we got on board. The cadets had to help the crew get the sails up so we could get started.
The sails weighed just so much. It amazed me to watch them go up and to see them up there, because even if you were in the back of the line, it was heavy.
Heave away the peak. Heave on it now. Together. Heave on it now. Hold the peak.
They said, hold on a peak, and you were just standing there holding. Your feet were gripped to the floor. It was just unreal when they said that the jib had half a ton of weight on it when we were in sail. I just couldn't believe it.
Just as we were getting started, one of the top sails got stuck, and then one of the crew members had to climb up and straighten it out. None of us cadets were ready for that just yet.
How's that look? You're gonna have to slack your miter off just a bit. Slack it.
The crew was really good, and they was really proud of what they do.
Carl, what? There's some slack on your
When I first saw Bobby Glover, I thought he was one of the cadets, or maybe somebody's son or brother. And then I found out that he was on the crew and had been with the crew for 2 years.
We had a sea shanty singer with us on the trip. A sea shanty is a song that goes with the rhythm of the job you have to do. Each job, like pulling up the anchor or hoisting the sails, has a different rhythm. And the sailors used to use the sea shanties to break up the monotony of the work. That was about the funnest part of the whole thing, because we were singing no matter what we did. Even when we weren't working, some of us singing a song or something. We left Newport to sail up the New England coast. We were hoping to reach Boston by the end of the week.
Along the plains of Mexico.
Today, we're going to break you up into groups into 3 watches. And the watches will be responsible for the sailing of the vessel. So, yes.
After we got underway, one of the crew, Big John, started giving us our assignments.
2 people will be in the galley, 1 person will be on the wheel, 1 person will be at the break in the deck, and 3 people will be on the foredeck. Every 20 minutes, we'll be changing and rotating the watch. And at the end of 2 hours, you'll go off of watch. So what we want to do now is break up into 3 groups and teach you more about the sailing of the vessel.
My name is Skip Wood. Hey, I'm the bosun aboard the Bill of Rights, and I guess you're all in my watch for the duration of the cruise. The bosun's job is, primarily back in the days of sailors, just to take care of the stowage of the cargo. But aboard this vessel, I'm primarily in charge of the rigging and everything that's aloft, all the topsails, and keeping everybody on their toes.
Are we gonna be on the sails too?
Yes,
you'll 7 of us.
Right. Most of the work on the sails has to be done on the foredeck, tacking the vessel. As you're looking forward on the vessel, starboard is the right-hand side, and port is the left-hand side. These lines here, made fast to your quarter lift, are called lazy jacks.
There are hundreds of lines on a ship that size, and you have to know what they are and what they're for. Because if you're out sailing and bad weather kicks up, you have to know what to do. Or you could end up ripping a sail, tearing a sail down, or even worse.
I know it all sounds a little complicated right now, but once you start working the sails yourself and running around and receiving commands and even eventually giving them, all the lines will fall into place and you'll see the sequence of how everything's set up and rigged.
Knowing the lines isn't a problem for Bobby. He's like a little man. He knows every inch of that ship. And whenever they call on him, he knows what to do, when to do it, and he does it right.
I was 14 when I first started working on the Bill of Rights. Now I'm just part of the regular crew.
Bobby's a good kid. He's really funny. And he cheers you up. He tells me to smile every time he sees me or something. And he's always, running around helping me. When we work in the galley, we all get laughing at least, like passing around those plates. They're so heavy, like they fit right into the tables.
My job is messman. What I'm basically supposed to do is keep the main salon clean and help the cook out in the galley, and I set up dishes. On this boat anyways, you have to be messman for at least a year, or part of a messman, because nobody goes up on deck without being a messman. We call it, paying your dues, which is, which everybody has to do.
He'll be in the galley and someone yell, "Bobby!" He'll be up there in a flash with all his stuff on. He loves doing it, I'm sure, because he always seems to be excited.
And when it took me about, probably the first weekend cruises, I got to know where all the lines were. And now I know where everything is, and I can do just about everything. I'd like to build a schooner like this, because I think this is just an ideal boat. Sailing is just so good. It's hard to explain, but just being pushed by the wind without power or have a feeling of trusting in the wind with no power in the boat at all, and just enjoying, moving right along under the command of the wind. And I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's really exciting. I sort of have faith in what I want to do. I want to do it so much.
I can really understand Bobby, because he's found something that gives a lot of meaning to his life. And so have I. I want to become a forest ranger. And I love the woods as much as Bobby loves the sea. And I guess we're both pretty lucky to have figured something like that out so early in our lives.
This morning we're going to have a class in visual communications, what everybody calls signaling. We're not going to try to teach you everything this morning about signaling. You'd have to learn 3 sets.
Carl Brenner is the ship's signalman. He learned all about how to do signaling while he was in the Navy. He taught us semaphore, and that's a way of signaling with flags.
Semaphore is a short-range method of communication. Usually it's not good for more than about 250 yards. Even with good binoculars, a couple hundred yards is all semaphore is good for. All right, Laurie, a little earlier, I showed you how to spell Bill of Rights and semaphore signaling. And now we're going to have you do it. One thing you got to remember is, each time I make a letter, you have to do it on the opposite side. Put your left hand straight down and your right hand straight out. That's the letter B, okay? I is done on the right-hand side again, with one on the up diagonal and one on the down diagonal.
Carl told us in the olden days they had to use the signaling back and forth because they had no radios. But now they just keep it up as a tradition, and that's why we learned it.
Up and one down.
I never did anything like signaling before, but I picked it up fairly quickly. But being on the other side of Carl, I kept trying to do the same thing as him and making mistakes all the time. But it was fun.
T. Towards the mast again. It's a little tough to get the opposite. And S. One straight out and one on the diagonal.
So this is straight out?
That's correct. That's it. Bill of Rights. And you just sent your first message in semaphore.
Now you take the wheel. Now watch, look down the deck. Watch your horizon, and as you're watching the horizon, you can survey the deck and see what may be going on. Now you're sailing too high. Bring it to port. Bring it down to port.
Well, I liked working on the helm. It made me feel as if I was controlling the boat. I could make the ship go anywhere I wanted to go, but I had to follow a course. Really, it's a thing where you're fighting against the wind.
Look out on the horizon. The vessel is settling down right now. And when you want to put the bow to port, you push the wheel toward the port side of the vessel. And the same thing is true when you want to go to starboard.
It impressed me because it's a big responsibility, and it's kind of tricky. If you can stand up to the job that you have to perform, you feel pretty proud of yourself. Well, if you're not watching the compass, ship will go off course. And I managed to stay on course. That made me feel pretty good.
As the wind is changing, if you watch your flag aloft, watch the turn of your sail, see? Shortly, you're going to have to bring her about.
When I climbed up the mast, it was like every step was a new world, because things kept looking different, like you were looking down on the sails. And as I got higher, you could see over the horizon more, like things you couldn't see from the deck. It was even with the sails and being underway when we're sailing along when we're up there is just really difficult. It's rocking back and forth and you're swaying all around up there. You're not really scared. You're just, so excited to get there, because it's really a thrill to see it all there. As we were headed into Nantucket, a terrible storm kicked up, and the water was splashing over the deck, and oh boy, I didn't feel too good.
Boat was rocking, people getting dizzy. It was like a big house rocking constantly. And if you tried to go into your cabins, it would be worse down there because, you know, you can't see the water. You're just closed in and it's moving around. Like a ball inside of a box being jiggled around. A lot of people was wise and stayed on deck, you know, where they can see what was going on.
Like when they were pulling the boat, the dories into the boat, because it got to be so windy that they would just blow off of there. And bringing the whole boat in was pretty hard. And they got to get slipping and falling down and trying to get themselves back up again. It was pretty hard.
The crew members yelling, grab certain lines so that the ship would be more stable and getting wet. Everybody has on protective clothes against the water. You know, they even when they changed their clothes, it didn't help because they would just get wet all over again. When the wind started getting rough and the sail started swinging from one side to the other, you know, I was kind of scared because I didn't want to get hit by one of the sails.
I've been out on a lot of rough seas, but today was pretty rough, and it got to be so windy that we couldn't, you know, the kids couldn't help or anything because it just got to be, the guy said you could easily rip a hand right off. It got to be, I just held onto my hands.
If you take a vessel like that and go out for a half an hour, within 10 minutes, something drastic can happen. I feel it's a test of survival.
Good morning. Good to see you all this morning. We're obviously in Nantucket Harbor. Briefly, we have a northeaster, which is blowing 40 to 60 knots offshore. Yesterday afternoon, many of you weren't feeling too well in your bunks, and some little grain around the edges from being seasick and whatnot. And we put into Nantucket for a couple of reasons. Now we have a storm coming in offshore, off the Atlantic, the North Atlantic, and it's coming in on a northeasterly course. And as you can see, the blue area indicates shoal water. That means there is not much water there. The lighter colored area indicates deeper water. Now, can anyone give me a reason why you think that we may not have been able to get through those channels?
You said that we was coming down this way.
That's right.
And the storm was coming down this way.
That's right.
Well, if we was to kept going, then we would meet up with it, right?
Yeah.
So we had to stop somewhere around here.
Well, that's pretty much the truth. And in fact, the way it would work is that we have two things that we're contending with here now. Yesterday afternoon we had two tides, and that was setting us down this way, so we were making a great deal of leeway being shoved in toward Nantucket Island. Then we had that northeast storm, which was right on the nose. Now, as you know, a sailing vessel cannot sail dead into the wind, and we have to sail at least at a 45-degree angle to the wind. In other words, if the wind is coming right at me, or right on my nose, I can't sail directly into it. I have to sail at a 45-degree angle to the wind, off to port or starboard. Now, the old-timers had a saying, I'll take that now, that if you had a fair wind and a fair tide, there now. And if you had a foul wind and a foul tide, or a headwind and a head tide, you'll never get there. And so, due to weather conditions, I have chosen to put into Nantucket Harbor and to cancel going to Boston.
Nantucket town will bid adieu, lovely Janet and pretty Sue. Our anchors weighed, our sails are firm, we're bound to plough the watery world. Hurrah, we're outward bound, hurrah, we're outward bound. The wind it blows from the north-northeast, 10 knots our ship will make at least. Our captain will our wants supply, while we grub we'll never say die. Hurrah, we're outward bound, hurrah, we're outward bound. At last our captain comes on board, our sails are bent, we're manned and stored. A jack is hoisted at the fore, the Nantucket gals will see him no more. our outward bound.
Back in the 17 and 1800s, Nantucket was the center of the whaling industry in America, and the town really maintains the traditions and the feeling of that time.
Pretty soon, our anchors weighed, our sails are furled, we're bound to plow the watery world. Our outward bound, our outward bound. The wind it blows from the northeast.
After living on that boat for a few days, and especially after that storm, we really could understand how much shore leave must have meant to the old-time sailors.
Our outward bound, our outward bound. At last our captain comes on board. Our sails are bent, we're manned and stored.
Okay, everybody up. Rise and shine, time to wash down the decks. Come on, you cadets, let's get going. Gotta start the day sometime.
Morning, Ricky. Swabs are up forward right there.
Washing down the deck. I always thought that they didn't have to do that on the boat because the water would always keep it clean. And then he watered it down with a hose as if he wanted the boat to get more wet. But he explained to me that too much salt would ruin the finish of the wood. The upper deck, the trimmings of the boat, the outside of the boat, and the ropes should be wet as possible.
This week was a really super week. I mean, I've learned so much, and I thought I could sail pretty well. And got out here, and I barely knew anything. You know, it was like a whole new world compared to what I had been sailing in.
I proved to myself that I'm capable of keeping my mind eased and not getting upset about a problem that came up, like for the ship went off course a little bit. Once I learned how to bring it back on course, then I actually did without any assistance.
What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor early in the morning? Way, hey, up she rises, way, hey, up she rises, way, hey, up.
Being on the boat is something I'm going to remember. Something that you don't get to do every day, or, you know, a lot of people don't get to ever go on a boat that size, you know. And it wasn't just like sailing any boat. It was a beautiful boat. I'm really glad I get to go.
Time to the crew on the Bill of Rights only mattered in particular things, such as eating, waking up in the morning, and the different watches that they had. But as far as anchoring and being somewhere at a certain time, it didn't make a difference. It couldn't make a difference because the only time they had was the wind. The wind was their time. Either it would go fast for them or it would go slow for them. The wind is like that.
Our anchors weighed, our sails are furled, we're bound to plow the watery world. Our outward bound, our outward bound.
In the forest, on the street, down the river we will meet. America, America. Hear our voices, our surprise, share adventure through our eyes. America, America. Time to discover anything is possible and dreams to uncover. If you come with us, we are the future. Everything is possible.